Good morning and welcome to our deep dive into the legal battle that could reshape the balance of power in Washington and send tremors across the global economy. So, the question at the heart of the matter is very simple yet profound. Did the president overstep his constitutional authority to wage a trade war? So this week, the US Supreme Court heard oral argument in the landmark case challenging the legality of President Trump's sweeping unilateral tariff. And the base of this rigorous questioning from the bench as a census seems to be forming. The justices are deeply spectacles. So this isn't just about trade policy. It is high-stake test of the separation of power. For years, the administration has relied on a decade-old emergency status to impose billions of dollars in duties. Now, the highest court in the land is actually grilling the very foundation of that power. So we are breaking down the core legal issues, the administration's controversial argument, the tough questions from the conservative justices, and what an eventful ruling, what is eventual actually ruling could mean for global trade. So American consumer and the presidency itself. So to understand this case, you have to understand the law at its center. The International Emergency Economic Power Act, which was passed in 1977. So traditionally, the power of levies, taxes and duty include tariff resides clearly with the Congress. So under Article 1 of the Constitution. So, IEEPA, however, is one of the several states that delegate specific limited powers to the president to act and during a declared national emergency. So historically, the president have used IEEPA to freeze a set of hostile foreign entities or impose sanctions. They have not used it to impose broad revenue raising tariff. So until now. So the Trump administration actually invoked IEEPA, declaring the issue like global trade, like imbalances and drug trafficking constitute an unusual, extraordinary threat to the United States. Under this emergency declaration, the administration claimed that IEEPA's language, which allows the president to regulate the importations and is broad enough to include the power to impose any tariff and on any country at any rate for any length of time. So the challenge coalitions of small businesses, even some state government says this is a breathtaking assertion of power. So this argument is twofold. First is IEEPA does not even mention the word tariff. If the Congress intended to hand the execution branch the ultimate power of taxation, they would have been explicit in that. So second, the administration's interpretations fundamentally violates the core constitutional principle of the separations of power. So as the challenge, attorney Neil Katyal argued that allowing this power would create one way towards the executive authority. So lower court have already largely sided with the challenges and finding that even the unprecedented use of the 1977 emergency law is illegal. So that brings us to the Supreme Court. The oral argument this week revealed that the justices across the ideological spectrum have deep concern about the scope of power the administration is claiming. So the core of the judicial, they have that kind of what we say is not having confidence, and the center on the sheer breadth of assertion of the authority, and that is why it is being questioned. So Chief Justice John Roberts posed one of the toughest question, and wondering aloud if the president was claiming authority to levy duties on any product from any country in any amount of for any kind of length of time. So he pointed out that while the tariff deal with the foreign powers, the vehicle is the imposition of taxes on Americans, which has always been a core power of Congress. So, but perhaps the most significant questions come from the conservative wing of court justices appointed by Republican presidents, including Mr. Trump himself. So, Justice Neal is also focusing squarely on the historical and constitutional assignment of taxing power. He appeared concerned that allowing this interpretation would shift the issue and shift of the power actually and to the president, or that will become an issue that was sparked in the American Revolution, taxation without representation. So Justice Amy Coney is also pressed the government's Solicitor General to find any other instances in US law where the phrases regulate importation has been used to confer the power to impose tariff. So the administration struggled to provide a direct parallel. The government's defense put forward by Solicitor General was that these tariffs are merely regulatory and not revenue raising, and that the money they collect, which is billions of dollars, were only incidental. So this argument was met with open directions of some of the liberal justices, and with the Justice Sotomayor pointing out that in effect a tariff is a tax. So the court conservative majority, who has recently utilized the major questions doctrine to strike down other sweeping executive actions, now face a test of that very principle of policy, and that is enacted by executive from their own side of SL. So the doctrine holds that if the executive branch claim authority to make a decision of vast economic political significance and $1 trillion tariff regime certainly qualifies, Congress must have given that power explicitly. So the legal battle is intellectual, but the stakes are intense, practical, measured in both dollars and global influence. So the money, if the let's just discuss a little further. So money is, if the regarding the money, if the Supreme Court actually strike down these use of IEEPA for those tariff, the consequences are enormous. So the US government has collected nearly $90 billion under the authority alone. Some estimates suggest that the total financial liability for the loss could be in the hundreds of billions or even $1 trillion in potential refund to the American importers who laid or who paid the duties. So the administration has warned that the ordering refund would be catastrophic mess. So then the second point is that the power of presidential power. So a ruling against the tariff would put a sharp check on the executive authority in a critical area. It would tell future president, regardless of the party, that they cannot use the broad emergency status at a tariff pen by bypassing Congress whenever they want to address a trade imbalance. So, going forward, a ruling for administration would give the president virtually unlimited power over trade, vastly expanding the scope of modern presidency. And the third point is definitely impact of the global trade. So the tariff have been a centerpiece of administration's trade strategy, used as a leverage to force the negotiations with key partners. So a ruling that invalidates the legal basis for tariff would intensely disrupt those negotiations and agreements and force the administration to rely on others and more limited statutory power. So such as a section 301 or section 232 which requires a new investigation and public justification. The global trade community is watching this case closely, viewing it as a test of stability and predictability of US trade laws. So justices are deliberate, and the ruling would come down in matter of weeks or months. The final decision will likely be pivot on the securing two conservatives vote to join the three liberal justices. The focus question from the justices and two judges suggests that such a coalition is entirely possible, so putting the entire tariff regime at a serious risk. So this case is more than a footnote in a trade history. So it is a modern test of 18th century constitution, and as its core is questions of who gets the levy taxes and who gets to make war, in this case a trade war. So I hope you understand the gravity of this situation. The founding fathers vested the power clearly in Congress for a reason. The Supreme Court is definitely has a challenge, and particularly its conservative wing is strongly signaling that the justices may be prepared to check what they view as the dramatic overreach of executive powers. So the consequences of this decision will be felt by every consumer, every company, and every trading partner around the world. So we will continue the focus and to follow this case closely. So be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss our analysis when the Supreme Court finally delivers its verdict. So thanks for watching. Let us know and your comments what you really want to add into this discussion. Do you believe the president has the authority to impose these sweeping tariff under an emergency law? Look forward. See you again in the next one. Bye.